Okay, so before we get started here, I want to kind of run through a few things, just reminding people what we're doing and stuff before we get to this wonderful artist. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Ben. I'm the banjo player in the Hen House Prowlers, and we have a nonprofit organization called Bluegrass Ambassadors that during normal times allows us to go into schools and do music education at schools that may not have very good music programs, and also travel all over the world and try to connect people across cultures. And we've been very fortunate to be able to do that a lot. And this is our COVID response activity. We are reaching out to some of our favorite musicians and doing 2 episodes a week on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Central, 12 Eastern. We do kind of a music lovers interview with some incredible musicians that's kind of for all ages. And then on Thursdays, like we're doing right now, it's Bluegrass Ambassadors Academy Junior for kids, because we know so many kids are stuck at home, and parents and kids need some good musical content, and we think that finding some of our favorite musicians is a great way to do that. If you want to help out with the production costs and the fact that we're paying these musicians and help us continue to do the work that we're doing, you can do that at patreon.com/bluegrassambassadors or straight up at paypal.me/bluegrassambassadors. They're tax-free donations. You get a nice thank you letter. And I thought I'd give a shout out. Yesterday, a guy, Peter Seaman, who owns Seaman Violins, donated $100, and I wanted to give him a thanks and a shout out for that. So that being said, I want to introduce this incredible musician sitting in front of all of us right now with her kids. She's become really quickly one of the most well-known banjo players on the scene. She's really innovative. I love listening to her play. Yesterday, she dove into some really cool stuff that just blew my mind, and I've been listening to her all week. So I suggest going back and checking out yesterday's episode. That being said, please make welcome Miss Gina Furtado on the banjo here.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Gina. Hi. Hey guys, I forgot to mention, anybody who's listening and tuning in, whether it's on Facebook or Zoom, if you have questions for anybody here, Gina or her kids, please don't hesitate to drop them in the question and answer box on Zoom, or make a comment on Facebook. It'll get to me through our team here. Nice to see you guys. Welcome to the Bluegrass Ambassadors Academy.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. You guys want to maybe start off with a song?
Sure.
Cool.
We've been practicing some songs.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to get out the guitar, though, for our
Cool. Hey, guys, tell me your names.
Iris. My name's Max. Iris.
Hi, Max and Iris. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too.
And like many other kids, they don't have school for the rest of the year.
Wow.
So we've been at home and trying to figure out ways to do, things that are good for the brain while we're all just here at home. And so anyway, this first song that we've gotten ready for this is all about being creative. So we've tapped into all different kinds of things, playing music and drawing a lot of pictures and stuff like that. So this song is about being creative.
Cool.
What key do we want to do?
The top.
Okay, right here.
Okay.
Okay, 2, 3, 4. Be creative every day. Draw or write. Find a way. Dance or sing. Put on a play. Be creative. Build a fort. Maybe you could build a fort. Build a fort. Build a fort. Maybe you could build a fort. Be creative. Draw a picture. Maybe you could draw a picture. Draw a picture. Draw a picture. Maybe you could draw a picture. Be creative.
Origami ninja star.
Make an origami ninja star. Ninja star. start. Ninja start. Make an origami ninja start. Be creative.
Play guitar.
Maybe you could play guitar. Play guitar. Play guitar. Maybe you could play guitar. Be creative. Be creative every day. Draw or write. Find a way. Dance or sing. Put on a play. Be creative.
Yay! That was great. Where did you guys get that song? I mean, I know the melody, but
She got it from a camp. Or something.
Actually, this song, it's just funny. It's a funny coincidence, but I taught for, I guess, about 6 months at a school in Honduras.
really,
And so I was teaching English, of course, and so it was like years and years ago that I did that, but that song stuck with me. I was trying to figure out what do I do to
that's cool.
for working with like third graders.
Where's Honduras?
Central America.
Okay.
So it was Mexico, Guatemala, and then Honduras is next. And
Was that cool? Did you enjoy that?
I loved it. Yeah, it was so much fun. Yeah,
Oh,
had a great time.
that's really cool. Tell us all a little bit about the guitar you're playing.
This is an Eastman guitar that I got not long ago, a couple months ago. And I like it because it's a small body, and I feel like just a regular size guitar is like way too big for me. So, I'm not much of a guitar player, but it just, I like it for writing songs and doing what little I have to do on guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes an instrument has to fit you.
Yeah.
Like physically.
Yeah. I have a regular size guitar, and I just like never really enjoyed playing it because it was so big. So this one I like it.
Yeah.
Size.
Hey, well, why don't you grab your main instrument?
Sure.
And while she's doing, guys, please drop in the chat or in the Q&A your names and where you're from. I'd love to kind of do a roll call and let people know who's tuning in here. So we'll do that in a few minutes. So, Gina, tell us about that beautiful instrument you're holding there.
This banjo.
Yeah.
This it was built in the Czech Republic by a great, amazing banjo builder named Jarda Pruka.
Huh.
And so it's called a Pruka banjo. You can see that. I don't know if you can see that up there on the headstock. He's got his name. And, well, it's just my favorite instrument I've ever owned. It's beautiful to look at, and it's just got this buttery smooth tone all the way as high up as you go. So, yeah, so it's
cool.
a pretty lightweight banjo. It's not quite as heavy as a regular banjo, which is super, super heavy.
Right, which is kind of what we were talking. You like that other guitar because it fits you better, and part of the reason you like this banjo is because it's not quite as heavy as other banjos.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not exactly a huge person, so hauling around this banjo, I've had back issues since I was like 15, and I'll show you this other thing I have that I got to combat the heaviness of a banjo is this crisscross banjo strap that goes over both shoulders. So
Wow.
the combination of the lightweight banjo and that crisscross banjo strap
That's cool.
has helped a lot.
What can you tell? I'm sure there's some people on here who may not have even seen the banjo that much. What can you tell us about what a banjo is, why it sounds the way it does, and all that stuff?
Well, a banjo. Hey, Iris, let's put that down if we're not using it. It's too loud. Distracting. Thank you.
Thanks, Iris.
Yeah. A banjo has 5 strings. And this fifth one, this one's kind of cool and makes it very different than really any other instrument that I am aware of. Really, I guess you call it like the drone string. It comes out of the side and it's shorter than all these other strings, so you don't fret it as often or almost ever. You wouldn't fret it. It just kind of stays at the same pitch almost all the time. Mm-hmm. So there's the drone string. It also has this drum head which gives it a very different sound than, say, like a guitar or a mandolin, which is all made out of wood. And then the banjo also has a resonator on the back, so it just kind of, and then you see it has these holes here. All the sound is pushed forward, and super loud instrument, which I love. I like being the loudest in the band. Max can relate because he's got the loudest voice in the family, so
Nice.
he likes that. Yeah, so it's just got this very bell-like, crystal clear, amazing sound, which, you know, I've loved since the very beginning.
Yeah, you were saying yesterday about one of your favorite banjo players is Jens Kruger.
Yeah.
And he told me a story once about how some really old banjos have a piece of, I mean, yours has one too. They have tone rings underneath, underneath the head, the white head is this big piece of rolled steel, they call it.
Yeah.
And that's what gives it a lot of its sound. And we were talking yesterday about really old banjos, pre-war, pre-World War II banjos. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me that they think that those Gibson pre-war banjos, the metal was made out of the bells that were on trolley cars in Chicago.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
that's so cool.
And they had been rung for years, and it had given that metal this resonant tone that has never been able to be recreated again.
Right.
And that's why those banjos are so special. But I got to be honest, I'm not sure I could tell the difference between one of those banjos and yours. It really does ring, like it's got this ring.
Yeah, it's got a ring. Yeah, I'd like to hear them side by side. Banjos, they all sound so different to my ear anyway. You know, it's just, yeah, every little detail that goes into it, the resonator and the head and the tightness of the head and the whatever tone ring it has inside. Yeah, they all just have such a unique sound. So
yeah. So I've got a bunch of people chiming in here, and I want to say hi to some people that are with us here. This is pretty cool. So we got someone named Addie from Chicago, and then Molly, who's 6 years old from Chicago. We have Jaden, who's 10 years old. He's from Switzerland. And Art is in Davenport, Iowa. And we got Tracy in Manassas, Virginia. Maybe I wonder if that's somebody you know, because are you in Virginia?
She's a banjo student of mine. We had a lesson last night.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And let me see. There's even Delilah and Jaron in Denver. Quinn and Rosie from the south side of Chicago. That's cool. I know Quinn is a tenor banjo player.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, there just aren't a ton of them around. He's kind of the guy to go to in town.
Cool.
And then Stella DeLuca watching from Columbus, Ohio. These keep coming in, so we'll go back to these every so often. Can you guys share another song with us?
What do y'all want to do?
Sailor. Yeah, how about the Sailor?
Okay, we have a good one.
Cool.
That a lot of people like it. Yeah.
And this one, for any kids out there that want to dance, they're going to show you the dance moves for this.
All right.
We have to figure out what key we're going to do it in.
That's important. That's important. What now? Can maybe give a quick description of what the key is?
Yeah, the key would be the chord that we're going to start it on. Here, I'll show you like a couple examples of a chord. So here's like a G chord. A sailor went to sea. It's kind of low for our voices, so we're going to try a little higher one. I can't even find it there. So here's a G, this is a C, this is a D. These are all chords, and generally the one that you start the song in would be the key that the song is in. So we're trying to find one that fits all of our voices.
Sailor.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
A sailor went to sea, to see what she could see. But all that she could see was the bottom of the deep blue sea.
Wait, stop.
Sailor went to meet what she could but all that she could was all of the blue. A sailor went to chop, chop, chop to see what she could chop, chop, chop. But all that she could chop, chop, chop was about the blue. Chop, chop, chop. A sailor went to walk to see what she could walk. But all that she could walk, was about the blue. A sailor went to see what she could see. But all that she could see was about the blue.
Yay!
Whoa, too fast for me.
That was great, you guys. That's really cool. Hey, so were you telling me that one of you guys played a musical instrument yourself?
Me.
Yeah? Tell us about it.
I play the violin, and I don't know if a lot of people don't know about it, so I'm gonna kind of describe it.
Please do.
It's kind of like this instrument where you hold on your chin, where you hold like right here, and you place the back of it on like your chin part right here, and it has kind of like a bow where you like there's 4 strings, and you can and it's made out of horse-hairs, like
So
the strings.
you go over the strings with the horse hairs, and that's how you get the sound.
Yeah.
And how often do you practice your violin? I know these are different times, and you're not able to have it with you right now, right?
Yeah. So.
Not as often as you should. Let's put it that way.
Well, I
Right.
play it a lot at
Every
Dad's
day.
house almost every day, except for when I forget to bring it here.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think you and I, Gina, probably tell our students the same thing, is that even if you practice for a little bit, as long as you do it every day, you're going to get better and improve.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and especially, well, for anyone, not just kids, students, but just having it kind of out of its case, hanging on the wall or something, or, leaning up in the corner, makes you practice it more, because you might see it and just play one song, put it down, come back in 20 minutes, play it again.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but sometimes if I practice right before I go to bed and I wake up the next morning, I'm actually a little bit better at it than I was when I went to bed. It's a really strange phenomenon.
Yeah, you're thinking about it in your sleep.
Right, I guess.
Well, when
so.
I was a kid, this is interesting actually. My mom would have us listen very quietly to music all night on what we called like an endless cassette. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah.
But it would just like go on repeat over and over and over, and then you wake up in the morning and it's like the song without having to really, doesn't feel like you've worked very hard at it.
So what kind of song would she do that with? Was it for your band or for...
No, it was we did that with bluegrass. Once we got kind of into bluegrass music, I remember listening to like like Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys like over and over and over all night long. I'd wake up and just hear it.
Wow.
Kentucky. But it was mostly like we did the Suzuki method for, they just have like a very specified list of songs that you work through. So we would listen to those.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I have some good questions here for you guys.
All right.
For the kids, someone asked, what's your favorite song that your mom plays?
I'd say Puppet Show.
I love that song too. That's a cool tune.
How about you, Iris?
They're all good. I was saying.
Maybe the one that you named.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
Princess and the
Princess
Pea.
and the Pea. You named that one.
Yeah. We talked about that song yesterday, Iris. That's one of my favorite songs, and I really originally liked that song because of the name, because I love that story. I always have. So good.
You liked it because of the name.
Yeah, that's a good
Cool.
name. That's real cute. I'm looking for some other questions here. So someone asked, what's the difference between an open-backed banjo and the one that you have there?
So, an open-backed banjo. Here, I'm going to take my banjo back up. there's all different kinds of open back banjos, and I guess like the key difference is it doesn't have a resonator. So this big wooden kind of like bowl thing on the back, it's not there. So it has a much more mellow sound than this banjo. Though, it tends to be a little quieter because it doesn't push it forward that way. And it's played, it's intended to be played with a different style. Like I have these finger picks that I use.
Oh yeah, cool.
So my type of banjo, resonator banjo, it's intended to be played with these picks on your fingers, and I pick the strings like this. Whereas an open back banjo is more intended for like claw hammer, just you hit it with like your fingernails, and it's a much softer, more mellow sound. So the fingernails, hitting it with your fingers combined with the lack of the resonator, just has a very, very different, softer sound.
Cool. Can you play us something really ripping on that banjo?
Sure. Let's see. Let's see. How about ground speed?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. All right. 1,
2. Yay! That was beautiful. Someone asked, Sarah asked, how did you get to play that fast?
Good question. Bluegrass, I mean, it's pretty fast. There's some fast music, and it's just kind of, it's part of the fun of it. It's just playing super fast. So, I think when I was a kid and we were teenagers, like our pre-teens, I was 11 when I started playing the banjo. I mean, that was like just something we prided ourselves in the most, was like playing lightning fast. It just seemed like a lot of fun, like riding a bike really fast. So we played a lot of fast stuff in our family band.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if your little sister's playing faster than you, that's definitely motivation to.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
Practice harder and play faster.
Right. That's cool. But you were talking a little bit yesterday about how important, like, getting the cleanliness of the note out, like I'm trying to explain that in a way that somebody who might not play music understands. It's like you want each note to be clean, and when you play fast, that becomes more difficult. So it takes some serious commitment to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and even still, I think it's just a matter of starting it slow and then inching it up faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
Don't try to play it super fast if you can't get every note to be clean and clear. Stop.
Yeah. Jaden wants to know how old your banjo is.
This banjo is only not even a year old.
Okay.
It was finished in September.
Okay.
So it's brand new.
Yeah. We were talking yesterday about how I saw you receive that banjo for the first time, and how happy you were to have a brand new instrument in your hands.
Yeah. I was pretty excited.
Yeah, that's cool. With John, who from the south side of Chicago here, good friend of ours, wants to know what the Suzuki method is.
The Suzuki method, it's classical, a philosophy for, training. Generally speaking, it's kind of geared towards kids for classical music. And it's by ear for the most part. They do have music, and you do learn to read music, but kind of like the main, at the core of the, teaching philosophy, it's to learn by ear. So, yeah, it came from Dr. Suzuki in Japan, and yeah, just very ear-based learning.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fairly common way if a student wants to learn violin, it's a fairly common way to get on that track and learn how to play.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of kids, you know, that are playing violin or something are doing the Suzuki method.
I
Right.
do.
It's very popular. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, is that how you guys learned to play?
Yeah,
A little bit. Yeah, you've done a little of that, a little fiddling.
a lot of Suzuki.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had another question here. Someone wanted to know how long each of you have been playing music.
I've been playing for since I was like 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just figured.
I just turned 8 and I started when I was 6, so
Yeah.
2 years.
That's great.
And then
Gina,
I've been playing.
go ahead.
Gosh, a long time. It makes me feel old. I started piano when I was 5, so I guess about 27 years.
Wow.
And then I
playing
picked up banjo when I was 12 or 11 or 12 or so.
Oh, playing music? I played guitar when I was like 3, so 5 years.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, you know, I wish. I think my mother is listening, and so I don't want her to feel bad about this, but I wish she had given me piano lessons when I was young, because piano is the key to all sorts of other instruments, and I know that your playing, I think, exemplifies that. You clearly have this understanding of music as a whole, and apply that to your banjo. So I definitely
Well, thank
wish.
you. Yeah, I kind of, you know, it's because I learned by ear when I was doing piano, and then, you know, banjo. I mean, it's not like I read a lot of tablature, and I took lessons with Murphy Henry, who's also very much by ear. So I feel like I have this big, you know, lacking in my understanding of theory and stuff like that. And on the other hand, it's like I did a lot of classical music, so I've heard it since I was like born, pretty much. So yeah, but
Right. That's cool. I'm going to say hi to a couple more students who have chimed in here. Why don't you guys get ready to do another song?
what song should we?
How about we do the man that names all the animals?
Okay.
This one's
Cool.
pretty hard.
So I just want to point out, Harvey and Opal are here from Oak Park, Illinois. And let's see, there's some others here. Irene is here. There's some other good questions coming in. Let's hear another song from these guys, and then we'll get to some more questions. Please keep dropping questions into the Q&A section, and these are great, guys. You guys are really involved. We appreciate it.
It's fun answering your
Do
questions.
that very quiet.
Yeah, right?
That's gonna come across really loud. Okay. Man gave names to all the animals in the beginning. In the beginning, man gave names to all the animals in the beginning. Long time ago. Saw an animal that liked to growl. Big furry paws and he liked to howl. Big furry back and furry hair. I think I'll call that a bear. Man gave names to all the animals in the beginning. In the beginning, man gave names to all the animals in the beginning. A long time ago. Saw an animal upon a hill, chewing so much grass until like to snort. Horns on his head and they weren't too short. It looked like there was nothing he couldn't hold. I think I call that a bull. Man gave names to all the animals in the beginning. In the beginning, man gave names to all the animals in the beginning. Long time ago, saw an animal leave a muddy trail. Real dirty face and a curly tail. He wasn't too small and he wasn't too big. I think I call that big. Next animal heated me. Had wool on his back and hooves on his feet. Eating up grass on a mountain so steep. I think I'll call that a sheep. Man gave names to all the animals in the beginning. In the beginning. Man gave names to all the animals in the beginning. A long time ago. Saw an animal as smooth as glass, slithering his way on through the grass. He disappeared by a tree beside the lake. I think I'll call that a snake. Yeah.
I've heard that song. Where have I heard that song?
That's a Bob Dylan song, actually.
Right.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah. Bob Dylan was a folk singer from the 1960s, though he just released another album like 2 weeks ago.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think it has like a 15-minute song about Kennedy's assassination.
Wow.
He's an eccentric guy.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we got some more questions for you here. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get these. So somebody asked if it do they have smaller banjos? This is from Rachel. Rachel's asking in Columbus, Ohio, if she wants to learn to play, if there are smaller banjos for smaller kids.
You know what? They do have them, but it's pretty uncommon. You don't see them almost ever. I'll show you what I did when I was a kid and couldn't quite reach.
Cool.
And this is what I have my kids' students do too. Here, I'll just use the guitar capo because I don't have my banjo capo.
That's okay.
So since the neck's really long, you know, it's so far for a small arm to reach up there. So you can take what we call a capo. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Uh-huh.
And that clamps the strings, and you can make it basically shorten the neck, so it's almost like it's a smaller instrument. It's still heavy, but I'm clamping it here at the 4th fret, and then we have these tiny little hooked nails here. You can spike up the 5th string, and then basically you just don't have to reach as far, so it shortens the neck. So it's going to be in a higher key, like we talked about. It's a different key because the chord is going to be higher, but that makes it easier to reach anyway. Yeah.
And then when you put the capo up there,
Iris.
then it.
Stop. Sorry.
It's okay. When you put the capo up there, all of a sudden the instrument's notes are much higher, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how it works. Like.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
basically, I mean, we're fretting. It's as though we're fretting these strings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a request.
Okay.
Do you know Big Rock Candy Mountain?
Oh, sort of, but not well enough to play it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
a hard.
It's such a hilarious song.
It is. It's a great song.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Andrea is asking, "What's your favorite instrument to play?" Which I know the answer to that.
My favorite instrument to play is definitely the banjo.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean,
I have to say I'm kind of a secret lover of the guitar. I love the sound of the guitar. It might be my favorite instrument.
really.
I love the guitar. Yeah, there's
Oh.
nice low notes. Banjos
And-
don't have a lot of that nice low, like big, just nice low sounds is what I really like. Cellos.
Yeah.
basses,
You showed me a guitar yesterday that somebody you know built, right?
Yeah. I don't have it here today. He took it back.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yes.
But that's pretty cool. Like,
Yeah. So that's my boyfriend Ben builds guitars, and yeah, it's just a beautiful sounding instrument.
yeah. There's a lot of time now to be doing things like building guitars.
Exactly.
I mean, it kind of goes along with your song, like let's get creative.
Right? Yeah. Find something. Try out a new project or hobby or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on a second. Keep these questions coming. They're great, guys. They're great. We do have another request that I bet you can pull off, but no problems if you can't. Hazel would like to hear row your boat" on the banjo.
Sure. Let's do that. Okay.
Now, do you think you could, for my own curiosity, mix that with a roll?
I can try. Sure.
So before we do that, what's a roll? Let's tell the kids what a roll is.
So roll, this is like really what my style of banjo playing is based around. We call it Scruggs style. Earl Scruggs came up with this concept of using rolls. And a roll is like, so I've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strings. And a roll is a pattern that we would use with our picking fingers to kind of make this rhythmic percussive sound. So I'm doing this roll, in this case is 3, 2, 5, 1. I'm naming the numbers of the strings. So I would take something like that and do stuff with the left hand to make it sound a little more interesting. All of those are just different roll patterns. I'm kind of patching together, stringing them together, and making a tune.
Mm-hmm. And so you can take, because when you played row your boat, you just played the melody, like the song that we might sing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I just played the melody the way like a violin player would play. Very, very straight melody. With the banjo, we would kind of play around the melody with these roll patterns. So something like this.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm trying to incorporate the melody, and usually with rolls, you kind of pick and choose which melody notes you get in there. You can't usually get all of them, but I try to think of like the key melody notes I want to get in there, and then I play rolls around that. And
that's cool. That was a really cool little primer. And just so you know, Hazel came in and said thank you in huge letters. She was
Okay.
so-
I'm Hazel.
That's really cool. Hey, can you guys maybe got one more song or maybe two, but
We have Little
Sure.
Teapot.
You want to try that one, or
yeah, whatever.
how about Let's do one where if anybody wants to dance, any dancers out there in the
Yeah.
audience, we'll do one where I'm gonna just play the banjo super fast because that's what I love to do the most. And I'll stop, and you guys have to freeze when I stop. So
Oh, okay.
It's a freeze game.
it's a freeze game. Okay, and these guys will be the demonstrators. So let's do something like.
Yay! That was what a great exercise to do. That's
How to wear the
awesome.
kids out at bedtime.
Hey, Andrea, or I think this is another question from Hazel. She has some great questions.
All right.
Asked do you remember the first song you learned on the banjo?
Yes, I do. Well, actually, that one I just played, Foggy Mountain Breakdown, that was the first one I ever tried to learn. And this is before I ever had a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to my teacher, who is Murphy Henry, who's an amazing teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed it to her, and she said, okay, just forget everything you know. So I didn't learn it right. So I don't think that one really counts. The first one that she showed me, and this is what I show to my students, is called Banjo in the Hollow. So
Okay.
I'll play a little bit of it. So
Yeah,
you can hear
please.
it. Goes like this.
Very cool. Yeah, that's a good one to start someone out with for sure.
Yeah, I like it because, we're talking about these roll patterns. Hey, Iris,
Stop.
take a chill pill.
We don't have any of those pills.
So that one only has 2 roll patterns, really, that it uses for the most part. So it's nice and easy, So, yeah.
That's cool. So, can you guys, all 3 of you, tell us what it's been like since we haven't been able to go to school and go to work? What have you guys been doing at home now that we're kind of stuck here for a little while?
Well, we've been playing with our dog. We've riding our bikes.
Right,
Nice.
We've been playing on the Xbox at Dad's house.
We don't have one in my house. We're going to go look for some morel mushrooms today. That's on our agenda. We've been doing that.
What? What is that? What do you mean? What does that
Oh.
mean?
Well, really.
I guess you guys might not have them in Chicago. You're right.
No.
You're in the city, but yeah, we're out in the country, and every spring for about a month, morel mushrooms come in season, and they're these delicious little rare little mushrooms, and they're fun to hunt. It's like an Easter egg hunt, except for a mushroom.
I don't know.
So you literally go out into the woods and look for mushrooms?
Yeah, you can just like hike around in the woods, and it keeps you out walking around hiking, but with a mission, and that's been really fun. We've been having fun doing that.
Yeah. And how many do you find?
We've tried it in a bunch of different places, and sometimes we'll find none at all. And then recently we found a great place to find them where we found like a whole ton of them. I mean, like 25 or something,
You don't have any sitting around, do you?
I don't know.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's why we're
but-
going back out today.
Yeah, but still, that's really cool. Little bonus content that we get to learn about what your COVID
Virginia.
life is like. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to like kind of read for an hour every day. I have them write stories. Trying to do some school type stuff, but not worrying about it too much.
Homework.
Yeah. How is school going for you guys? Are you guys doing schoolwork online?
Well, no, because we don't have any good computers to do it with.
Yeah. They've been able to, the teachers are great. They've been preparing stuff for the kids to do, but it's kind of like, it's not required at their ages, you know. But they'll send us these packets, printed out packets that are great.
Okay.
So we pick these up and once a week.
Wow.
And, you know, they peck away on those and, yep.
Can we see your calendar behind you there on the door?
Sure. Here.
Oh,
I'll lift up the computer.
even you can see where it says morel mushrooms right there, hunt for morels.
I don't know if you can see it very well.
That's great. Breakfast ride, 9 to 10 breakfast, the ride bikes, then practice. Is that practice banjo?
That was practice for our kids show. We practiced all our songs.
Oh, for this show.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then kids show, and then hold on, go back. I want to see the rest. Kids show, hunt morels, read, dinner, chores, and then is that the dog at the bottom there?
Yeah, Max drew that cute little dog.
That's pretty cute, Max.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey, everybody listening, if you got any last minute questions, now's your time to get them in. I think we're going to have them do one more song and then finish up here. So if you got any last questions, drop them in. But you guys got one last song for us?
Sure.
Teapot.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see. You guys gonna act it out?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Short and stout. Here is my handle and here is my spout. Teamed up and all shout. Just get me over and pour me out.
Good job, you guys. That's awesome. I'm checking here for last minute questions here. Oh yeah, someone asked how is there such thing as learning an instrument too soon, or what's a good age? Like, is it too early? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's
No,
what's
that's
a good age?
Really good question. I don't think there's any too early to start learning an instrument, but at the same time, like for really little kids, like say you have a 2-year-old that you want to start learning an instrument, even just like holding the instrument can be enough. So not, just don't worry about anything, as far as actually playing it or anything, just holding it, having the kid hold it and play a little bit is a great, like totally acceptable practice session for that age. They start identifying as musicians really early, which I think is really cool.
That's cool.
And then another thing that we did when we were really little, I was 5 when I started on piano, which is older, like older. Some of my siblings started when they were like 3. So one of the things that we did, because we couldn't, at that age, it's really hard to get the motor skills just to do basic things. I'm talking. Don't interrupt, please. No, don't interrupt, please. Was to learn and memorize little poems, like we memorized haikus, because that just trains part of your brain to start doing, memorizing things like tunes. So it's in a way like we have enough of the motor skills to remember how to recite a poem, but maybe couldn't play a tune quite yet because of the skills it takes to use the instrument that way. So hold the instrument and recite a poem,
That's really, I've never heard that advice before. That's really great. You don't have to have a 2 or 3-year-old playing music, but to just start to open up those possibilities with stuff like that. That's really cool.
And I think it's important to keep it pleasurable, enjoyable, at that age.
There's something I want you to repeat that I actually, you said a little bit about it yesterday, but also on the Picky Fingers Banjo podcast, which if you want to know more about Gina and her playing, I highly recommend you go find that podcast. I'll put links to it on the posts and stuff that we're doing. But you mentioned when you were playing early, or when you first were playing, You know what I'm getting at here? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're talking about a teacher told you how to express yourself with your instrument.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
so this was actually my piano teacher. This is before I played the banjo. But one of the things that my piano teacher really stressed was to try to, like, she would point to things, you know, like right now it's windy outside and the trees are blowing, and she'd say, play that. So even if I was playing a memorized piece, she'd say, play it like that. Play it the way you think that sounds in your mind. Mm-hmm. So, you know, try to describe something. Try to describe, you know, a beautiful sunset or, you know, whatever, anything. So I don't know, maybe that sounds really abstract and weird, but it left a huge impression on me, and that's totally what I do to this day. I try to describe something in my music.
Yeah, I really loved the way you talked about it. You talked about how that might have felt like too heavy of a concept to teach a kid, but
Yeah.
actually it became the foundation of your musicality.
Yeah, totally.
Which I think that's such a great way of looking at music. Can you demonstrate that by playing the song you played on the Music Lovers episode yesterday? The what's it called? The Kite song?
The Wayward Kite? Sure.
Yeah, the Wayward
that's
Kite.
a good example of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So this one is, it's called The Wayward Kite, and I was trying to play like what I envisioned, a kite flying around going crazy and then flying away and getting stuck in a tree and that whole thing. So here's this. Sounds like this.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've heard that tune a bunch now, and it's, you know how it is when you listen to a song like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, it becomes more and more locked into your brain, and it's a really great tune. So we're running out of time here. We have a couple. Actually, I have a really interesting question that punches above its weight for this episode, but that's okay. It's from a musician here in Chicago named John Rice, who is one of the best all-around musicians in the city. And he asked a pretty nerdy question. He says, thanks for doing this. Do you find that you can take ideas from the banjo and use them on guitar, and then back the other way, guitar to banjo?
I'm not capable of doing, well, I guess that's not true. I play the guitar sometimes as though I'm playing a banjo. So yeah, I'll do like the banjo rolls on a guitar. So in a much more primitive way, I can do that, use banjo ideas on the guitar. But just since I'm not that skilled of a player, not so much on the guitar. On the banjo, yeah, that's one thing I really like to do is try to listen out for what other instruments are doing, and that's a great segue into coming up with your own ideas. Is to like, okay, first you imitate your favorite banjo players, imitate Earl Scruggs, and then imitate Tony Rice on the banjo. You know, go to other instruments, and then that kind of evolves into coming up with some very innovative stuff of your own.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I've definitely read about Earl Scruggs listening to jazz and stealing jazz licks, piano
Yeah.
jazz licks into his backup.
Yeah.
And we're getting into banjo nerd territory here.
Right.
But I do have one more person to say who's here. Our John Wesley, 2 years old, is here listening from Chicago, which is that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we have an anonymous attendee wanting to see my shirt. And you probably like this too.
That's a cool shirt.
Yeah, that's a Hello Kitty character
Oh my God.
called Deary Lou. That I've always liked that character, and somebody photoshopped a banjo in Deary Lou's hand and gave me the shirt.
That's brilliant. I love it.
It's a great shirt. So all right, let me. We're almost done here, folks. I can't encourage you enough to go to Gina's website, GinaFurtadoBanjo.com. And if you're interested in lessons, she might actually have some spots available. But that's definitely the best place to get her music. Make sure you go and check it out. You can stream her music on Spotify and YouTube and all that stuff, but really the best way to support musicians right now who, quite frankly, need support is to go directly to their websites and buy hard copies of their music. A lot of times, I know that when you get a CD, you can also get a download card and all that kind of stuff. So go to GinaFurtadoBanjo.com, check her stuff out. We're finishing up here. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Bluegrass Ambassadors Academy. Today was the junior edition. It's going to be on YouTube shortly. If you want to help support us, go to patreon.com/Bluegrass Ambassadors. Last week's guest was Fareed Haq, an incredible jazz guitar player. And Gina, you might think this is cool. He gave us a list, a Spotify playlist of good jazz music for kids to listen to.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I'll share that with you too. It's up on our Patreon right now, along with both of the episodes from last week. If you're interested in exposing your kids to a little bit of jazz, he was really special. We're gonna add some cool stuff from some of Gina's influences to the Patreon once it goes up on that too. But we're no longer gonna lock these episodes on YouTube up. We're gonna keep them available just so you guys know. So help us out if you can. If not, please pass these episodes around. Gina, it's been such an honor to hang out with you and kind of glean some cool information from you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, right on. I do want to point out to John Rice, who was asking about that. Gina did some really cool stuff yesterday where she played clawhammer sounding music with 3 fingers. And if that sounds interesting to any of you, go check out yesterday's episode. Hey, you guys, thank you for being part of this. Like, I'm talking to both of you kids.
These two.
Yeah, thank you guys for being part of it. It means a lot to me to have some kids on this episode, and you guys did a really great job. So,
Well, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Stay tuned for next week's episodes. Gina, you're amazing. We'll see you guys all next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.